Meghan and Harry said they wanted privacy, but now they look like influencers selling Disney. Harry came back from New York, and instead of family time, he promoted Disney. Tom Bauer said, "Harry is all about money now and can never go back to royal life. William will not allow it, and the timing is wild because their other projects are already failing." Meghan and Harry are suddenly everywhere pushing Disney stuff like desperate influencers trying to pay the bills. Tom Bauer says this proves they never wanted privacy, only control and cash. And now that the royal shine is gone, we see the truth. He claims Meghan has no real income. Netflix is done, Spotify is gone. Money is drying up fast. She even showed up at Kevin Costner's charity event this year after skipping it before just to be seen dripping in expensive jewelry. The same woman who once thought charity was beneath her now looks desperate for attention. Insiders say their deals are fading. Harry lost Centabail, Invictus is shaky, and their reputation is crashing, which makes them toxic for future deals. So, of course, they jumped at Disney for money. Bauer says they're basically influencers with titles now, and their Montecito dream life is collapsing faster than their royal ties. So the latest bombshell is wild. Harry actually went to his uncle Earl Spencer, asking if he could dump the Mountbatten-Windsor name and legally switch the whole family surname to Spencer, and the answer was a brutal no. Tom Bauer says this happened during their Netflix filming, and the reason is even crazier. Meghan allegedly hated the Windsor name and thought Spencer sounded more powerful and marketable. Basically a full rebrand for her Diana 20 fantasy, but Charles Spencer shut it down fast. Insiders say he didn't want Meghan using the Spencer name, especially if the marriage falls apart. Smart move, because Meghan clearly wanted to lock in Diana's glow forever. She already parades Diana's jewelry everywhere she goes, desperate. To cling to that connection, the Spencers saw straight through the plan and refused to let their legacy be turned into a brand. Meghan wanting to become Diana 2.0 is next level manipulative and disturbing, and Bauer says this is just the start of how far her obsession goes. So now it gets even darker, because Tom Bauer says Meghan does not just see herself as inspired by Diana, she actually believes she is Diana reborn, and that is why the level of delusion is off the charts. She convinced herself she inherited Diana's role and the right to be adored worldwide. The 2018 Australia trip was the big moment that locked this fantasy in her head. She thought the cheering crowds were all about her, but Bauer explains the truth. They were cheering the crown, the tradition, the history, not Meghan the actress. And when you compare the two, the gap is huge. Diana had race empathy and worked hard, visiting hospitals and charities, while Meghan wanted glamour parties and fame. The scary part is Harry fueled this fantasy. He kept drawing lines between Meghan and his mother, but it was his own fantasy version of Diana, not the real woman. Now Meghan clings to Diana's jewelry and stages photo ops to keep the illusion alive. She thought love and respect should come instantly because she believed she was Diana returned, and that delusion led to chaos, broken ties, and terrible choices. And what happened at Sandringham in 2017 proved just how toxic this mindset really was. So get this, Tom Bauer says Meghan totally wiped out Harry's old friend circle in what looked like a planned social hit job. She showed up at a shooting again, and instead of blending in, she started acting like the morality beast, calling out their jokes and lifestyle choices. And everyone was like, what is wrong with Harry bringing her here? Some even texted each other mid-weekend because the vibe was that bad, and then came the ultimatum, me or them, and Harry picked her, and just like that, his lifelong friends were gone. None of them even got invited to the post-wedding dinner. And what makes it worse is she didn't just stop at his friends. She went after the traditions too, telling Harry he could not shoot anymore without realizing this was part of the whole British country culture that tied him to his roots. So she basically cut him off from his people and heritage at the same time, and now those friends want nothing to do with him. They will not even take his calls. And the hypocrisy is wild, because she was happy to grab the titles and status, but had zero respect for the lifestyle or the people that came with it. And if that was not enough, now we find out Harry wanted to make a whole documentary about Diana, basically cashing in on his mom's memory. Tom Bauer says this is one of the most shocking moves yet, because Harry barely knew Diana. He was only 11 when she died, but now he wants to rewrite her story for Netflix money. And of course, the version he tells is full of errors. Like in his book, he said he thought she disappeared or was murdered by paparazzi, but the truth is she died in a car with a drunk driver while not wearing a seatbelt. So if not even get that right, how can he claim to tell her full story? And the craziest part, Diana was not some helpless victim like he paints. She was actually brilliant at playing the press, feeding them stories when it suited her. She was in control more often than not, but Harry keeps twisting it into his tragic victim tale because that sells better, and that is why Bauer calls this documentary plan a betrayal, not just to his family, but to the truth itself. So Tom Bauer drops another wild twist, saying Diana Diana was never the helpless victim Harry wants to paint her, as she was actually a master at controlling the press, playing the media like a game of chess while everyone else was stumbling around. And now Harry wants to do this big glossy documentary that will only show his version of her life, basically. A fairy tale built to make him look like the grieving son while cashing in at the same time. Bauer says it is purely about money, not truth. And if Harry really wanted peace with his family, this would be the ultimate betrayal, because William would be furious, and Charles would see it as another stab in the back. But the worst part is how this whole pattern of selling out royal ties never ends. Like with their daughter, Lilibet. Bauer says that before even telling the Queen she had a new rate, granddaughter Harry and Meghan had their lawyers rushing to register the Lilibet domain. Name the baby was born on June 4th, and instead of immediately calling the Queen, they spent 2 days locking in the website to protect and monetize the name. Only then did Harry phone his grandmother. With the announcement, the palace was outraged, especially when Harry later claimed the Queen gave her blessing, when she never did. The palace even went public through the BBC to deny his version. And when Harry tried to threaten legal action, it collapsed because everyone knew he was lying. Bauer says Meghan drove this entire move since Harry has no commercial brain. It was about turning the Queen's most intimate private nickname into a branding tool. And that shows how cold and calculated the whole thing was. Not a loving tribute, not a sweet gesture, just another chance to turn royal family ties into profit, even when it came to the name of their own babe. So this whole Lilibet name drama wasn't some sweet family tribute at all. It was a cold business move planned like a product launch. And the most shocking part is how it all played out. While the Queen was grieving her husband, they put securing a domain name above simply calling her to share the birth of her great-grandchild, and that says everything about where their heads were at. But Tom Bauer says that was just the warm-up, because what came next destroyed Meghan's standing in the fashion world forever. Remember the 2019 British Vogue September issue that sold like crazy? Well, Meghan convinced herself she was the editor when really she was just supposed to be a guest, and her bossy behavior drove the real editorial team insane. Fast forward a few years and she shows up in Manchester demanding another cover and full editorial control. And when Edward Enninful refused, she allegedly had a meltdown that ended their relationship for good. When asked later if he'd ever work with her again, he gave the most polite but brutal rejection, basically saying, "Been there, done that, never again." And that's fashion. Speak for Don't Call Me Bauer says, this is a pattern everywhere she goes. People who once supported her, like Vanity Fair's Sam Kashner later, admitted they felt manipulated and betrayed. And when his words came out in Bauer's book, her legal team allegedly leaned on him so hard, he tried to walk it back. That's the so-called Sussex war machine using lawyers to scare critics. But the thing is, once the media starts mocking you, it sticks. And now big outlets from Vanity Fair to The Hollywood Reporter are calling her out. And even the women journalists who once boosted her careers now cash in by tearing her down. Meghan is officially toxic in the industry, and no amount of spin seems to be fixing that.